Warriors Unite! Back with another episode of Bigger Warriors 2 and the 1% Club, my friends. Well, it's getting a little bit warmer. I wanted to stay cold. It's almost, it's like 20 degrees now in the Midwest where I'm at. But the last few days, interesting weather we've had. I love it. I love it. Not so good for some of our warriors. We had some of our warriors have had broken pipes. And cars not starting. Always remember, guys, try to make sure you got to keep that water flowing. Use the wash machine, use different things. Make sure you get everything flowing so you don't have broken pipes. And start your cars like I'm doing right now. Starting the cars. All right, my friends. So, some shout outs. Let's see where we're at, my friends. Let's see where we're at. All right, True Image. Thank you, my friend. BH28. Thank you. Jon the Dawn, of course. John Jennings, thank you. Boy, thank you, my friend. Mr. Frederick, thank you. Rose and Raven, I think. That's the one, thank you. Or Roses and Raven, I think so. I can't read my writing sometimes. Sorry about that. I apologize if I misspoke. Miss K, MK Hole, thank you. Brother Boldly, official music as always. Antonio, thank you. Derivatia, thank you. CEO James Online, Giodude, Gematric 142, and DJ3 DD524. Thank you guys for all your great comments, and I appreciate that. We are trying to build. We're over, I think, 4,000 subscribers. Thank you, my friends. And once again, there is no profit in what I'm doing. I feel like it's something I'm giving back to people after all these years of people have been nice to me. And I'm trying to kind of help any way I can. Of course, you know, you can take what I say and just filter through and see if it's something you agree with. If you don't, that's okay as well. I appreciate those comments as we go along. All right, so at 2 minutes, my friends, 2 minutes, we're going to talk about an idea from Mahatma Gandhi, talking about self-control and self-indulgence. So what does that got to do with what we're talking about with self-control and all the things we're talking about when semen retention and stoicism, brahmacharya, sophism, celibacy, things like that. All right, so there is a contrast between how people look at life, and we may not always see that, but we can see in their behaviors and actions how they do that. So let's take a look at this, for example, a little bit. So as we look at life, there's people who believe, a lot of people out there believe, that in what I call a deterministic viewpoint, which means that life is determined, there's nothing you can do about it, there is essentially no God, you're basically just kind of got on the whims of what the world is doing and the interactions of nature and things like that. And so what ends up happening is that you live the life to the fullest you have every minute, which means that, you know, it's kind of a me type of thing. You're wrapped and self-absorbed around yourself, and now you're trying to get as much selfishness, self-behaviors, pleasure, I call it pleasure seekers, that you can. And these are the energy suckers, these are the vampires who will suck from everyone around them because their whole perspective is that they feel like that for whatever reason, that they should grab as much as they can before they leave this earth. And so their viewpoint is very much, as Gandhi would say, a self-indulgence. They would be indulging themselves in any kind of pleasure they can. And you've seen this through the history of the world. Part of the reason why the Roman Empire, the Greeks, the Romans, the Incas, the Mayas, the English, all the dynasties fell apart was because of lascivious behavior. What happened is they lost control of themselves and they started believing, well, there is no consequences for their immoral behaviors. And so they continued doing that, and it became so much to the point where they lost their soul. And God, whether it's Sodom and Gomorrah, whether it's the Babylon, whether it's the Roman Empire, they decided that slowly but surely, or quickly, in the case of Babylon and the case of Sodom and Gomorrah, that all of a sudden they'd wipe out everybody. And those behaviors then became something that God did not want. If you believe in God. A lot of these people don't believe in God, and so their heart became hardened, like we talked with Pharaoh and Moses, That's what we talk about, in my opinion, when your heart becomes hardened, because all you think about is yourself and your pleasures, and there is no consciousness within you. I believe God resides within you. This is where the Greek word enthusiasm comes from, God within you. So therefore, any sort of guilt consciousness you have comes from God, telling you this is wrong. And so therefore, that's blocked out. After a while, after sleeping with so many people, after screwing so many people up when it comes to money and whatever it might be, all of a sudden people become hardened. If you look at people, criminals in prison, you'll see that as time goes on, they have no trouble killing somebody because their heart has been hardened. There is no soul there anymore. And you can see that with the zombies that are walking around, or the vampire suckers who are trying to get your energy. There is no soul there. It's almost like your soul. If you can look through a person, you can just look right through them. There is no spirit there any longer, or at least the spirit is there, is dead. I believe the spirit is there, but it's dead. And I believe everybody can be saved, obviously, but these people are so far gone that they're not even going to consider that or thinking about being saved or in that kind of realm. And so those are people who have very much of an individual agenda on their hands. And so they're in a point where everything is very much me, me, me. Goes back to that me generation type of thing we talked about when I was growing up in the 60s, the late 60s and early 70s. Now, this is diametrically opposed in Gandhi's position, and as we look at this, to what we really should be. Now, the idea of religion, and I know there's a lot of people, and I looked at some numbers of people, going less and less to church and things like that. And obviously with the problems with the Catholic Church and the problems with, the COVID and all that kind of stuff we've had, we have a lot of people who are not into as much in religion as we can. And there's a difference between religion, in my book, than believing in God and your creator. You have a strong faith, you have that no matter what, no matter where you're at. You're talking with God, you have a relationship with God all the time. And those type of things you can't, it's nice to have it in a place of worship, obviously. But if you can't do that, people can still have strong relationships with their God no matter what, because they're with that person every day. And there's some people who go to church who doesn't look like they're even religious at all. They just kind of go because they feel like they have to. So the strength of your relationship with your creator creates this type of situation. Because if you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm not all there is in this society, in this world. There's something bigger that created me, and there's something that I have to answer to, consequently. So therefore, I have to make sure I behave and watch my behaviors. When Moses got the 10 Commandments in Jesus Christ and what I believe in, those commandments are things you should follow. And I don't care, how hokey and all these type of things they put together in movies and everything goes. Those 10 commandments are things we should abide by, in my opinion. And so therefore, no matter what you're talking about, and a lot of religions have the same sort of tenets, it's just worded differently, or maybe there's different ways they perspected on it. But the idea then is you're still focusing on rules and laws that your creator, in this case Jesus Christ and God, put out there so that we can follow. And so we talk about thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, there shall honor the mother and father, there shall not commit adultery, all these things. There shall not have more than God other than God. Those type of things are things that are commandments that allow you to start exerting some self-control. And this is a key type of thing, because without self-control, you go back to the other side and you eventually become self-indulgent, which leads to your destruction. Okay? So the wages of sin, obviously, we're talking about here. As you commit more sin, which means you don't have any kind of self-control, you're not you're not following any of the commandments or tenets in your religion. You're basically then leaving yourself wide open for temptation and more temptation, and all of a sudden you lose track. It's almost like the case studies I was looking at for people who are like serial killers or people who have addictions. After a while, they lose themselves in the addiction, and they can't tell the difference. And so now to get more and more high on the situation, they try to go extremes. So in the case of obvious intercourse, right? Intercourse is no longer important. Now they may do a two-some, threesome, and all of a sudden now they're doing all kinds of perverted behaviors because they're not happy, they're not satisfied with that one thing. And this is why God has said you should be happy within yourself, with me, and that's all you need. And if you do really have that relationship with your God, your creator, you should be very happy, peaceful. Now, obviously, you're not going to have everything perfect, and God didn't want it that way. God wants you to get to the point where he wants you to be at, but you're still going to be joyful and happy with the life you have. You don't need the things around you. You don't need the material things around you. And that takes some time. But people will get to those points as long as you give yourself up to your God and have that type of idea of saying, God is with me, God can protect me, God will give you those type of things that you need, your abundance. So that leads us then to retention, and that leads us to the whole idea of self-control. Because once you have that, obviously you're retaining things within yourself, your energy level. So your energy level, because you're not just going ahead and having sex with people all the time, you're not going ahead and looking at pictures and kind of releasing your energy, all those type of things are not happening because you're really trying to be as not submissive, but you're trying, kind of way it is submissive, you're trying to follow the rules as best you can because you want to become the best person you can become, and God will bless you and obviously save you from all the other dangers around you because you are following God's commandments. And you're not going to be perfect. None of us are perfect, and that's why we try to ask for forgiveness and sins and things like that. But obviously there's certain things that God really frowns upon, and there's some things that you don't, it's hard to go back. And part of the problem is if you have no remorse, if you're not having that sort of inner drive and saying, I'm sorry, I've made mistakes, then that's something that God, I think, has problems with. And the whole idea that you're looking at is kind of looking at saying, okay, I can admit that I made mistakes here. I can admit I've had sins. Please ask for forgiveness from your creator. And so now you're on that path of trying to control your behaviors. And so then all of a sudden, now you have all these things you're looking at to try to become better. And obviously we're not talking about dieting or exercising. We're talking about more moral behaviors that are important. But the more you do that, the more confident you get, the more strength you have within that relationship, and God will help you achieve your goals that you want to have then. Through him, your purpose, you're conquesting the things around you through God's purposes. And therefore then you can go ahead and take your cold showers like I do your weightlifting, do your stuff, do your kind of trying to reduce weight. And again, I feel unbelievable, but it's only because I'm now more in tune with God now than I was for many years. And yes, I believed in God and I have a relationship with my Lord, but it's only ever since I've been doing retention and hard mode retention, we're talking about monk mode, where women are not that important to me any longer. Obviously I have a wonderful wife and kids and all that kind of stuff, and that's all wonderful, but my major goal is my creator, and obviously achieving the goals and becoming the best person that I can become. And because of that, I've gotten a lot of benefits because of retention and self-control, and a lot more people, opportunities, attractiveness, things, all that kind of stuff. It happens a lot more because of the level of control that people can sense, and the calmness, and just having something along residing within me, so I don't have that level of anxiety and fear and things like that of things around me. So the whole idea that Gandhi was talking about is having a level of self-control, that you're able to control things within yourself that you can control. There's some things you can't control, and there's a lot of things you can within yourself. This is why we talk about stoicism is a very important trait to have. Now, whether you believe in everything on stoicism or not, there are some things that it's very useful for. For instance, if something happens to you, good or bad, you should react the same way. You shouldn't be too high on the good things and not too low on the other things. The emotions has to be something that you take out of that, warriors, that is not that important. So if something happens bad, you try to solve it. I remember working with Norman Vincent Peale and even going back to the Kelder book, when we talk about things that happen to you, you have to just kind of take them calmly and try to solve problems. In my opinion, and then working with Norman Vincent Peale over the years, you have to go ahead and become a problem solver. The whole idea is to solve problems. So we have problems all the time, every day, and the better we become with those, the better we can actually go ahead and have some faith and ideas that things will happen for us. And sometimes they don't. Well, then God means us for a different direction. And that's what I fully believe. And so you have to be that calm influence for yourself and other people around you. Now remember, guys, once again, you are a beacon. You are standing out there because you have this retention, because you have this relationship with God, and other people may not have it. It could be your girlfriend, could be your wife, it could be your family, your kids. They're going to look at you and say, well, how do you handle this type of situation? Are you flying off the handle? Are you getting angry? Are you getting upset with people? Or you're trying to be calm and you're trying to solve the problem the best way you can? And if that's the case, then you're showing others that you're different than most people. And this is where I think women will gain a lot more respect for you. And I think your employer, your employee, people you're working with will gain a lot more respect for you because you're handling the situation. And you're there to solve the problem no matter what it is. And you're trying to work on yourself no matter how old you are. You could be 20 years old. We have a lot of people who are 20. You could talk about people in our demographic listener area, 30s, 40s, 50s. We have a bunch of people as well. And then obviously in my case, we have a few people my age, 63 and above. And I think part of it is really recognizing no matter what your age is, especially with the Fountain of Youth stuff from Kelder, that you can live a long time. And I fully believe that. And I think that's part of the attitude you gain and gaining the faith and realizing how important it is to be strong and be faithful and have a relationship and talking with your creator all the time, so that you're able then to overcome these type of things and be strong and use all this great energy that you have and transmute it and become stronger. And so you're not as worried about things that people say. You don't care about what people say. You're doing your own thing. You don't care that much about whether women like you or not. It's not an important type of thing. Now, it is not easy, guys, because the strength of these vampires and energy suckers is to bring you in, and they can tempt you, and the temptress is all over the place there. And those, especially in the case of a lot of our men in our audience, women are very tempting, and they know that. And don't be fooled that you think, well, they're not really paying attention, or they're just kind of trying to ignore you. A lot of women recognize where you're at. They recognize your strengths. They recognize your energy, and they will try to, in different ways, have you focus on them instead of focusing on yourself. And that's the worst thing you can do, because if you focus on them, they're eventually going to kind of put you in that category. But if you focus on yourself and all you're doing is focusing on yourself, they're going to want you to pay attention, and they'll chase you all over the place to get that attention. But you really don't want that, guys. What you really want is you want to keep focusing and keep your path straight and moving in the right direction. So, all right, my friend, this is a fun one. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're talking again about having self-control and avoiding self-indulgence and working and trying to become the best person you can become. All right, I hope you enjoyed this one, my friends. Thank you guys again for all the shout outs. Thank you guys for continuing to support what we're doing. Let's continue to get the word out. Hopefully we can keep moving up from 1% to 2% and keep this going and get more people to recognize how important it is to have that level of self-control, believe in our creator, achieve goals, become that strong, high-value male who is going to be a protector, a provider, that person who's going to be out there and protecting not only our families, working with our God, but protecting our towns and cities in the type of society we live nowadays. Most people are living in the world. They're not living within God's spirits. And so you want to live within God's spirit and follow what he's doing. All right, so anyway, 2 things I always leave with you guys with. First of all, we know that every day is a great day to a new warrior. I should have said that backwards, but you know what I'm talking about. And number 2, guys, we have to always remember that the evil one is always around the corner. We can never let up. Every day is a battle. And this is why I always say we have to continue to, and get it, guys, battle!